Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm John Nightingale, and this is Sue Hadow, and we're involved in a project to reintroduce water voles to the River Gara. Now, I don't know if any of you know the River Gara, but it rises in Blackawton. Its catchment is mostly in Blackawton. It travels down through Street and goes down to Slapton, and ultimately, and this is the bit that I most love about this project, ultimately it feeds into Slapton Ley. Perfect water vole territory there. So water voles they punch well above their weight. They're a little cute little furry animal, but they now what I must do, in case I go off my stride, is so water voles are what's known as a keystone species. That's to say they have a disproportionately beneficial effect on their environment, and their presence benefits numerous other species. They are also crucial for maintaining the habitat alongside the rivers. So what they're doing is they're nibbling back the vegetation. And what that allows is it creates these flower-rich riverbanks, and that benefits a whole range of insects, particularly pollinators, so bees, butterflies, moths, they all benefit from that. Those that predate on the butterflies and moths, they benefit from that, so you get the birds, you get bats, you get mammals that predate on them. And water voles themselves are an important part of the food chain for many creatures. A whole range of animals find water voles a tasty snack, from herons, pike, weasels. I'm told in Scotland golden eagles will take a water vole. So but water voles are disappearing, and they're disappearing very fast. Back in the mid-20th century, it was estimated that there were about 8 million water voles in the UK. It seems we're down to about the last 100,000 now. Why are they going? Well, that's, as with all disappearing species, there's lots of different factors. Loss of habitat is one, but with water voles, there's one big important thing that has led to their demise, and that is the presence of American mink. So these are escapees from mink farms. They are hugely destructive. A single mink can destroy a whole water vole colony in a very, very short time. The good news is that American mink are disappearing from our landscape. The last figure I read suggested that the mink numbers are about 45% down on what they were 20 years ago. Now that opens the doors for water vole reintroduction. And I'm going to hand over to Sue, who'll tell you more about the project itself.
Thank you. So almost 2 years ago, a few of us attended a water vole course at Derek Gow's farm in mid-Devon. Derek is a water vole specialist and also a specialist in water vole reintroductions. And when we talked to him about the possibility of reintroducing water vole to the River Gara, he was encouraging, because he knew the habitat was good, but above all he knew that at Slapton Ley it was perfect ideal for water voles, and he understands how they travel up and down rivers and river catchments. So with him we identified 4 possible sites, talked to the landowners who own these sites, and arranged for access, and Derek advised on improvements. And these 4 sites, I don't know, do you have a map?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. They are, there's sort of at intervals down the catchment. So the catchment starts north of Blackawton and ends up in Slapton Ley, and they're at fairly evenly spaced intervals down, and the idea is that mimics how water vole colonies would operate naturally, so that a migrating water vole can move up valley and find another colony which to make. So almost overwhelmingly, all the local people we talked to and landowners were supportive of the project, and very few of them had seen any mink in the last 20 years, so that was encouraging as well. And having confirmed the project, we placed a mink trap in each of the reintroduction sites, which is crucial because mink can travel vast distances, migrating mink, and one female mink can enter into the burrow of a water vole and, as John says, completely wipe out a colony of water voles within a season. So there are two identical phases to the project. Breeding starts in March, and the first early bred water voles from those breeding pairs will be reintroduced in late summer. And the following year we'll see the reintroduction of the later bred voles, so they have time to mature before they put out on site. Each pair will have between 2 and 5 litters a year, producing about 5 to 8 young each time. So the breeding actually started this month for our reintroductions for this year. So we've got 20 pairs of voles that hopefully at it now. And yeah, so we're looking at we found funding for the first year, so we're steaming ahead. Back to John.
Well, obviously our primary aim is to get water voles back into the River Gara and to get water voles ultimately into Slapton Lay. But it is part of a bigger picture, and that bigger picture is we hope the water voles will help to reconnect people with their rivers and streams. You know, for this assembly to achieve its aims, for what we want to happen, people have to feel towards their rivers and streams. They need to go and visit them, they need to walk down them, they need to see when change has happened there. And we hope that the water vole is a good draw for that. I think many of you will remember that wise, gentle little water vole in Wind in the Willows, who Kenneth Graham called Ratty for some reason. And Ratty, above all else, loved his river. And Ratty's big fear was Toad's huge, grand plans, that Ratty would spend his time trying to dissuade Toad from these grandiose schemes, and Toad's obsession with loud, fast motor cars. Ratty felt that threatened his river, and that is the feeling that we need to reconnect people with. But this is, as Sue has mentioned, it does cost quite a lot. To do a water vole reintroduction, which is, you can be sure of success, is not cheap and is a long-term project. But I'll hand to Sue to explain that.
So the total cost of this reintroduction programme is £27,000. Each phase will produce around 400 water voles, and so in total we hope to reintroduce 800 amongst the 4 sites. The reason for the large numbers is that to mitigate against heavy predator loss or a poor breeding season or extreme fluctuations in weather like flooding or drought or whatever. So the first phase has been funded by a very generous grant from Farming in Protected Landscapes and some community funding. So we have 13,500 yet to find for the next year's introductions. The costs include specialist expertise for selecting and pairing the voles in the first place, and also for surveying the results of the reintroductions and feeding back to the project afterwards. Also, the labour costs involved with looking after water voles year-round, food, water, bedding, the cost of these things themselves. And you know, it is a year-round commitment because of the need to overwinter some of the less mature voles for the reintroduction the following spring. There are also transport costs of bringing the voles down to the riverside after 5 days of feeding them in their cages to which they have access. The cages have to be returned to site, to Derek Gow's site. So we need to find quite a lot of money. So we are appealing for your support. If you can circulate information about the project to anybody who might be able to help us, that would be great. There are flyers on the tables with a link to the Just Giving page and also to a website where you can find out a lot more. In the course of this project, I've spoken to quite a few people who remember, one lady here as well, who remembers the sound of water voles plopping into the river on your approach. I've never heard that sound, and I'm really looking forward to hearing it. But much, much more importantly, I want our children of today to hear that, and for their children to be able to walk by the riverside, hear that plopping sound, say, oh, there's a water vole. Thank you.
Thank you.